Welcome to the Rock and Wellness Podcast, the show that takes you on a voyage to better health, wellness, and happiness that will rock your world. With me, R.J.O, your host, your coach, and your biggest fan. Hello and welcome to episode 19 of the Rock and Wellness Podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. I am your host, R.J.O, author of A Beginner's Guide to Going Meatless, health coach, and yoga instructor. Many people are suffering these days with poor health and a lack of wellness, so I have made it my mission with this podcast, coaching, and other endeavors to share my 20 plus years experience and knowledge in the health and wellness industry to help you achieve the health, wellness, and life you desire. Many people remain confused about nutrition. We are told one thing, to eat a healthy, well-balanced diet, and yet society pushes another, a diet full of fast food, sugar, processed carbs, and unhealthy fats. So what is a person to do? The best thing we all can do is go back to the science. Learn as much as we can about the science behind nutrition and pay attention to the human trials and studies that have been done on healthy nutrition for decades at places such as Hippocrates Health Institute and other holistic health healing institutions around the world that are not always in the mainstream media. I find it very frustrating that what's supposed to be our healthcare system isn't taking care of our health at all. It's managing sickness and disease. I always say that I'm lucky I'm healthy because if I ended up in the hospital for an extended period of time, I likely wouldn't make it, strictly because the food isn't healthy at all, which I find very strange. There are buildings, aka hospitals, full of people who are there trusting the doctors to heal and help them, yet the basics of health, specifically nutrition, are never or rarely even mentioned. We really see a lot of this these days with the current pandemic. There's more talk of fear than there is about prevention and how to truly take care of the body and build the immune system to fight off viruses, which really our body does all the time. It's so mind-boggling. In my last podcast, episode 18, I answered the question, what are macronutrients and how much do you need? In today's podcast, we will discuss the various micronutrients and why they are important and critical for optimal health. The science of nutrition I find extremely fascinating. There is much research that has been done on nutrition and how the various nutrients and different diets affect the body, yet there is still so much controversy and varying opinions about what diet is best for humans. However, if you look at the real science behind nutrition and stick to the basics of it, it really isn't that hard to understand what kinds of foods humans really thrive on when they eat an abundance of it. Ideally, it has been shown that the best diet for humans, this has been proven by science time and time again, is to eat a variety of whole food nutrients, which includes mostly fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, and all of these in small to moderate portion sizes, which unfortunately, ridiculous portion sizes are happening these days, right? With the invention of processed and convenience foods, and as I mentioned already, the ridiculous portion sizes people are now used to, the world's obesity and health problems have skyrocketed over the past few decades. It has come to the point that so many people are overweight and sick because of their diet, and of course other lifestyle choices, that individuals and governments cannot afford to keep up. If you really want to be healthy, reduce your risk of disease, and live a life rich in wellness, you definitely want to make sure you are eating an abundance of micronutrients. But you might be asking yourself, what are these micronutrients that you speak of? I don't hear about these very often. So you know the macronutrients, we talked about it in the last podcast, but also usually in media and when the discussion comes to nutrition, it's all about the macronutrients, the protein, the carbs, and the fat. So macronutrients, macro meaning large, these are the nutrients that are in our food and the fuel that feeds our body. But within these foods are the micronutrients, of course, if it's real food. The micronutrients are vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, and are the non-calorie nutrients that enable the body to produce enzymes, hormones, and other essential nutrients that are required for proper growth, development, and health. When we consume enough micronutrients from real whole food, we will have optimal health and function. However, when we are lacking in these essential nutrients, the consequences can be severe and result in debilitating chronic disease and even death, which we are seeing running rampant these days, unfortunately. So let's go over these three categories of micronutrients and their components and kind of what they consist of. So let's start with vitamins. Vitamins are considered an organic material. This means they break down and can be easily destroyed, and for the most part, must be consumed in the diet. No one food contains all the essential vitamins we need for optimal health, which is why it is important to eat a well-balanced diet that is rich in whole, real food. Unfortunately, due to extremely unhealthy diets that are plagued with what I like to call frankenfoods, these foods look like food, but they're not providing any nutritional value at all, often are fortified with vitamins to help prevent severe vitamin deficiency that many people would have on the typical standard American diet. Vitamins are divided into two categories, water-soluble and fat-soluble vitamins. Now, most vitamins are water-soluble, which means they dissolve in water and require water to be transported around the body. These vitamins are used in the body by being absorbed in the water and either delivered to the parts of the body that require them or simply eliminated, mostly through the urine. So have you ever taken a multivitamin and noticed the smell of vitamins when you urinate? Those are the water-soluble vitamins that couldn't be used by the body, and it's now being flushed out of your system. This elimination is especially common when the vitamin is synthetic as opposed to a natural food source, because synthetic vitamins are not as bioavailable, which means usable in the body, as real food. You're really unlikely to have an overdose of these vitamins, though, because any excess will be just excreted in the urine, which is really great. So the water-soluble vitamins include, let me go through all of them. So thiamine is also called vitamin B1. This vitamin helps the body release energy from carbohydrates during metabolism, nerve function, and supports the growth and tone of muscle tissue. Plant-based sources of vitamin B1 include any maybe cereals that have been fortified, let's say like oatmeal, rice, pasta, and whole grains also contain vitamin B1. Vitamin B2, or riboflavin, helps the body release energy from protein, fat, and carbohydrates during metabolism. It is also considered an antioxidant and helps to prevent oxidation or the destruction of cellular tissue. Plant-based sources of vitamin B2 include whole grains and dark leafy vegetables. Vitamin B3, or niacin, supports the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Plant-based sources of vitamin B3 include enriched cereals, peanuts, and potatoes. Pantothenic acid is present in all plant and animal tissues and is essential for the metabolism of fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Plant-based sources of this vitamin include whole grains, legumes, vegetables, and fruit. Pyridoxine, or vitamin B6, helps support protein and carbohydrate metabolism, production of red blood cells, supports immune function, and helps build body tissue. Plant-based sources of vitamin B6 include bananas, prunes, beans, whole grains, and avocados. Vitamin B9, or folate, helps with the production of DNA, formation of red and white blood cells, and neurotransmitters, and the metabolism of amino acids, also protein. This is really important for pregnant women as the baby needs to develop these basic functions. Plant-based sources of vitamin B9 include green leafy vegetables, peas, beans, and lentils, and specifically a diet full of fiber. Cobalamin, or vitamin B12, is required for the normal development and cellular function in the digestive tract, bone marrow, and nervous tissue, as well as the metabolism of protein and fat. Plant-based sources of vitamin B12 include any fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kimchi, and kombucha. Biotin, or vitamin B7, plays an important role in the metabolic functions of pantothenic acid, folic acid, vitamin B12, and metabolism of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Vitamin B7 can be produced by a healthy intestinal flora from the bacteria, but can also be found in plant-based foods such as cereals or grain products, yeast, and legumes. The final vitamin we'll speak on today is ascorbic acid, or vitamin C. This is a powerful antioxidant and is essential for the structure of bones, cartilage, muscle, and blood vessels, maintaining the health of capillaries, teeth, gums, and aids in the absorption of iron. Plant-based sources of vitamin C include citrus fruits, berries, and vegetables. So those are all of the water-soluble vitamins. Now let's move on to the fat-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins include vitamin A, D, E, and K, and are most abundant in foods that are high in fat, as they require fat to be transported around the body. Because these vitamins are abundant in fatty foods, they are best known to be found in animal-based foods. However, plant-based foods have been shown through extensive research to provide more than enough fat-soluble vitamins. We have to be careful, though, with these vitamins, as any excess can be stored in the liver or fat tissue, placing a person at risk of overdose and toxicity if it's not excreted in the feces. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while and follow my work, you will know that I advocate for a plant-based whole food vegan diet. But people often ask me, is it even possible to get all the required fat-soluble vitamins on this type of diet? And that answer is an absolute yes. Now let's go through each of the fat-soluble vitamins and discuss where you can find them in these plant foods. The first one is carotene, or vitamin A, also known as retinol, contains a provitamin, beta-carotene, which is important for vision maintenance, growth of bones and teeth, and the formation and maintenance of skin, hair, and mucous membranes, cellular growth, immune system function, and maintaining fertility and fetal development. It's true that the most abundant dietary sources of vitamin A come from animal foods such as liver, fish, liver oil, and butter. However, studies have shown that vitamin A precursors, such as beta-carotene, are extremely abundant in red, yellow, and orange fruits and vegetables, as well as some leafy, dark green vegetables, and of course, fortified foods. The body uses these retinol activity equivalents, also known as RAEs, by converting them into vitamin A to be used by the body. Although it may seem easier for a meat eater to get the adequate amounts of vitamin A, people who choose to refrain from eating animals can get more than enough vitamin A when they eat a well-balanced whole food diet. If you are plant-based or vegan and are concerned about your vitamin A intake, you can meet your vitamin A requirements for the day by adding an abundant amount of these foods into your diet. So a 1/4 cup of carrot juice a day will help. Dark leafy greens such as kale or spinach, a couple of servings of that a day. Sweet potatoes, remember that bright orange color. Cantaloupe, and dark orange winter squashes, including pumpkin. According to research, it's important to eat more plant-based foods to ensure you get enough of the precursors required to produce vitamin A. Therefore, it's important that vegans pay special attention to eating foods that are rich in color, specifically yellow and orange foods, to get enough. Now, vitamin D, everybody's quite familiar and hear about vitamin D. This is a fat-soluble vitamin that the body makes when exposed to sunlight, which is a good thing since vitamin D food sources are quite limited. However, for those of us who live in places where we don't get much skin exposure to sunlight due to cold temperatures, it's important to supplement or eat foods rich in vitamin D. Now, vitamin D supports the body by regulating calcium and potassium levels to support bone maintenance, and by regulating and strengthening the immune system. As already mentioned, the body can produce vitamin D when exposed to sunlight. However, the main food sources for vitamin D include fatty fish, fish oil, and mushrooms that have been treated with ultraviolet light. So there are 2 types of vitamin D. These are vitamin D2 K2, which is found in mushrooms and some other plant foods, and then vitamin D, which is found in animal-sourced foods such as eggs and fish oil, and also produced by your skin when exposed to sunlight. Many will argue that plant-based version of vitamin D is not as effective. However, vitamin D2 has been shown to be just as effective in raising blood levels of vitamin D as does animal-derived vitamin D when it's taken at its recommended dose. So if you eat a plant-based vegan diet, you will want to pay particular attention to getting adequate amounts of vitamin D. Therefore, it's essential to work with your physician or other healthcare practitioner to ensure you're getting enough. But you can do your part in getting enough by spending some time in the sun and taking a high-quality vitamin D supplement. But again, I'm going to caution, please make sure you are speaking to a healthcare professional before taking really any fat-soluble vitamin. Really important to make sure that you are not overdosing and you're getting a dose that's proper for you. Now, vitamin E, also known as alpha tocopherol, is a powerful antioxidant that prevents oxidative stress and the breakdown of cellular tissue. This vitamin is well known for its anti-aging properties and skin-enhancing benefits, and plays a fundamental role in protecting blood cells, body tissue, and essential fatty acids from destruction in the body. Plant-based sources of vitamin E include fortified cereals, nuts, wheat germ, vegetable oils, and green leafy vegetables. Now, finally, vitamin K is an important fat-soluble vitamin. However, getting enough through the diet doesn't seem to be too much of a concern since vitamin K is actually produced by gut bacteria in the colon. Vitamin K supports body function by helping the body form blood clots. Without vitamin K, you potentially would bleed to death if you were cut. It supports bone health, preventing the calcification of blood vessels, and potentially reducing the risk of heart disease. This vitamin is divided into two main groups, vitamin K1 and K2. Vitamin K1 is found in plant-sourced foods and is the main form of vitamin K in the diet. K2, this variety is usually found in animal-sourced foods and fermented soy products. K2 is also produced by gut bacteria in the colon. Some sources mention that there are also 3 synthetic forms, vitamin K3, K4, and K5. The best plant-based food sources of this nutrient are leafy green vegetables, vegetable oils, such as soy or olive, and natto, which is a fermented soy product and known to be extremely healthy for the gut. Some may argue that because the main source of vitamin K2 is from animal products, that someone who follows a plant-based vegan diet may become deficient and have problems with blood clotting. However, studies have shown there to be no difference in blood clotting ability between vegans and meat eaters, likely because it is also made in the gut bacteria and doesn't require you to eat it. So as long as you're eating a whole food vegan or plant-based diet, you should be okay because you're feeding those healthy bacteria in the gut. It is true that the recommended intake of vitamins and minerals can seem like a lot. However, if you're eating a well-balanced whole food diet rich in plant foods, you will not be deficient in these micronutrients. Usually problems occur when people choose to, let's say, go vegan, or even if you're not vegan, but just living off of processed junk food, such as pasta, baking, boxed food, instead of eating a large variety of things like beans, legumes, fruits, veggies, nuts, and seeds. That's when the problems arise. Now, here's the thing, though. Even if you're eating a well-balanced whole food diet, you might still find it hard to ingest the vast amount required for optimal health. So, for example, it is said that the average person requires 7 to 14 servings of fruits and vegetables per day to maintain good health. So think of this just in your own life. Are you getting anywhere near that? Most people aren't. The average person might be 3 to 4 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Now, if you're an active person or an athlete, you may require up to 25 servings of fruits and vegetables to prevent oxidative stress and maintain good health. That is a lot of food, and for most people, ingesting this amount of nutrition is absolutely impossible without supplementation. So if you choose to eat supplements to get your vitamins and minerals in your diet, it's important that you stay away from synthetic forms of vitamins and minerals, as they have been shown to cause toxicity in the body. Therefore, be sure you get your vitamins from natural food-based sources. Eat real food. And there's really only one whole food supplement brand that I would recommend because it's just really backed by top quality research. It's 100% plant-based, and I've been taking it for almost a decade and have seen many benefits from it. So I will post a link to this whole food supplement and some of the other supplements I use in the show notes for this podcast, so you can take a look and educate yourself more on what is out there. So let's move on now to minerals. Minerals are critical for human life, and they're found in the body as well in food and in the environment, in the earth. A variety of minerals are important for regulating enzyme activity, maintaining an acid-base balance, and assisting with strength and growth. Minerals are typically categorized as macrominerals, which are the major elements, and microminerals, which are trace elements. Let's review each of the macrominerals, starting with calcium. Calcium is the most abundant mineral in the human body, and it helps to mineralize bones and teeth, muscle contraction, including the heart muscle, blood clotting, control of blood pressure, immunity, and more. Plant-based sources of calcium include green leafy vegetables, legumes, nuts, and the cacao bean, very high in calcium. Phosphorus plays a role in bone and teeth health, helps the kidneys filter out waste, and is important for the utilization of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. The main plant-based food sources of phosphorus include grains. And of course, these are whole grains. Magnesium is present in bone, muscle, soft tissue, and body fluids, and is important for bone mineralization, protein production, muscle contraction, nerve conduction, enzyme function, and of course, healthy teeth. Plant-based sources of magnesium include nuts, cacao bean, again, the chocolate, pure chocolate, green vegetables, and whole grains. Sulfur is important for bonding proteins, enzyme function, and many other healthy body functions. Plant-based sources of sulfur include beans, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, mustard greens, bok choy, onions, garlic, celery, fennel, and asparagus. Sodium is one of 3 electrolytes in the body and is important for normal cellular function, water balance, and distribution of the acid-base balance. Plant-based sources of sodium include artichokes, celery, beets, turnips, chard, sweet potatoes, and spinach. Chloride is one of 3 electrolytes in the body and is important for cellular function, water balance and distribution, and the acid-base balance. Plant-based sources of chloride include sea salt, tomatoes, leafy greens, seaweed, olives, and rye. Potassium is one of 3 electrolytes in the body and is important also for normal cellular function, water balance and distribution, and of course the acid-base balance. Plant-based sources of potassium include squash, potatoes, beans, oranges, broccoli, bananas, lentils, raisins, and pistachios. So all these macro minerals are found quite abundantly in plant-based foods. And again, if you look at some of the foods that were mentioned, there's a big variety, right? So if you were to say only eat, and let's say you ate nothing but potatoes, you would be missing out on some of the other minerals that are found in, say, oranges and broccoli. So that's why it's really important to have a variety in your diet. So let's move on to the micro minerals, and you're going to probably recognize quite a few of these. Let's start with iron. Iron is responsible for hemoglobin formation, improves blood quality, and helps the body resist stress and disease. Plant-based sources of iron include legumes, grains, nuts, seeds, dark leafy greens, prunes, and blackstrap molasses. Now, a lot of people think, well, you're plant-based, you need to get iron from meat. This is so not true, right? But again, you've got to be eating a whole food plant-based diet, not a junk food vegan diet, in order to get the proper nutrition. Iodine is a mineral stored in the thyroid gland and is responsible for normal growth and metabolism. Plant-based sources of iodine include sea vegetables, which are really rich in iodine, potatoes, prunes, bananas, corn, cranberries, green beans, and strawberries. Selenium is a powerful antioxidant and protects the body against oxidative damage from radiation, pollution, and normal metabolic processing. Plant-based food sources of selenium include grains, nuts, seeds, baked beans, mushrooms, oatmeal, spinach, lentils, and bananas. Finally, zinc. Zinc stimulates the activity of enzymes, supports a healthy immune system, assists with wound healing, strengthens the taste and smell senses, supports normal growth and development, and helps with DNA synthesis. Plant-based sources of zinc include whole grains, tofu, lentils, hemp seeds, oatmeal, rice, seeds really in general, beans, quinoa, mushrooms, and avocados. Such a great variety of foods that all these micronutrients are found. So let's move on to the final category of our micronutrients, which are antioxidants and phytochemicals in general. Now, we've already talked about the vitamins and minerals that act like powerful antioxidants. However, there are many more antioxidants and phytochemicals found in fresh whole food. Now, antioxidants have been proven to prevent or repair oxidative stress, which is also damage to cellular tissue. Oxidative stress is caused by what's called free radicals that cause damage to cellular tissue in the body and actually is what causes us to age and break down. These free radicals can be caused by a poor diet that's high in processed foods, sugar, and saturated fats, and low in whole food that are rich in vitamins and minerals. Things such as smoking also causes oxidative stress, as well as environmental pollutants like radiation. A great way to help you understand oxidative stress is think of an apple that has been cut in half. If you leave this apple on the counter, what will it do? Well, it'll start to turn brown. And this is because of oxidative stress that is killing off cellular tissue. However, if you place a little bit of lemon juice on that cut apple, lemons are very powerful antioxidants, you will notice that the apple will not brown as quickly. The antioxidants in the lemon help to protect the cellular tissue of the apple. The same is true in our body. When we have enough antioxidants in our diet that come from fresh whole food nutrients, the body has the protection it needs to fight off these free radicals. More antioxidants means less cellular damage, protects the body from disease, and slows the aging process. And you can see this in people. People who eat a fresh whole food diet as compared to somebody who, let's say, is a smoker, heavy drinker, eats nothing but fast food. These two people look very differently, right? Unfortunately, the person that's the smoker, the heavy drinker, living a diet and eating a diet full of fast food doesn't look quite as good. They look more broken down, right? So this is where eating these foods and these antioxidants is really important for the health. Now, phytochemicals are just really the nutrients in the plants that they're not necessarily required for normal functioning, but they do improve health and reduce risk of disease. Here's the thing though, there's hundreds of thousands of phytochemicals that scientists, I'm sure, don't even know about all of them. But let's just take an apple for an example. There are over 10,000 phytochemicals that the body uses to improve and enhance health in an apple alone. 10,000 phytochemicals. So it's no wonder the old saying of an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's so true, right? I was speaking to a couple of colleagues of mine and they were looking at these protein bars that they were eating and there's all this protein and this and that. And I just said, why not just eat an apple? I know a person doesn't think an apple is high in protein, but it does have protein in it. But more importantly, it has 10,000 phytonutrients that are helping the body stay healthy, actually feeding and fueling the body and protecting the body from disease. There's no way a protein bar is going to do that. Never, right? So by eating a variety of whole, real food as opposed to packaged foods that so many of us really are living on, these whole foods have tens of thousands of phytochemicals, including vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, which will result in you having more energy, reduce the risk of disease, you'll have healthier teeth, hair, nails, and skin, and be better able to manage your weight. Now, every morning, my boyfriend and I drink a liter of what I call my superfood green juice. Now, I can put that on the show notes link, a recipe to that. We also take, of course, our handful of supplements that we take. Most of them are whole food supplements. And my boyfriend said the other day, he's like, I cannot stand how fast my nails are growing. I feel like I'm always clipping my nails. But that's a great sign. When your nails are growing like crazy, it means your body is really healthy. So really important to almost gauge things like, what does your skin look like? What does your nails look like? What is your teeth like? What about your hair? These things are a really great indicator of real, true, deep underlying health. Now, you may be thinking, with all this information about the importance of micronutrients, how do I make sure I'm getting enough? The solution to a healthy body is really not that hard. It just takes some preparation and adjusting the taste buds to prefer whole foods over processed foods that are high in sugar, fat, and salt. When the suggested servings for fruits and vegetables for adults is 7 to 14, and health professionals suggest up to 25 for active individuals and athletes, I know it can be daunting to think of how much food you actually have to eat to get that much nutrition in your body. But it really can be easier than you think. Here's some ways to boost your nutrition intake and your overall health. Number 1, follow the new Canada Food Guide system. This new system has been vastly improved to reflect really a good balanced diet. The new Canada Food Guide system is just a really great visual of what to have on your plate. Essentially, the suggestion is to have half of your plate fruits and vegetables, with more being vegetables, a quarter of your plate being protein, and a quarter of your plate to be whole grains and other healthy complex carbohydrates. Replacing drinks such as juices, pop, and milk with water will also help cut down on empty calories and sugar and will help the body stay better hydrated. You can also really just plan ahead. Prepare your food ahead of time. This will give you the time you need to really look at your meals, make sure you have the ingredients, and make sure that the food has a lot of variety. So making sure really that your overall diet has the variety you need each day for optimal health. Now you can get creative. Find some delicious new recipes you might want to try and just have some fun with your meals. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make with their diet is eating the same thing day in and day out. This is not a healthy way to eat, even if you are eating healthy foods. Our body, specifically our microbiome, the healthy bacteria, needs variety in the diet. Eating the same thing every day might be an easy way to keep track of calories, but it's extremely easy to get bored and then fall right off the healthy eating plan because boredom and cravings for other foods set in. One way I love to get my nutrition in is by drinking smoothies. Smoothies are a really easy way to get lots of fruits and veggies and other nutrients in your diet because you can throw all sorts of goodies in the blender and drink it rather than eating all that food. Some of my favorite smoothies include spinach or kale, banana, frozen fruit, hemp, chia, flax seeds, and my favorite plant-based milk, coconut milk. Often I will add a scoop of my favorite meal replacement or protein powder. The one that I eat pretty much every day contains 17 plant nutrients, including spirulina, sprouts, ancient grains, fruits and veggies, and the best part is it tastes amazing. So if you'd like some recipes, I'll put a link to some of my favorite smoothies and other recipes in the show notes for this episode at rjowellness.com/podcast/episode-19. Now, finally, supplementation. It is often hard to get enough nutrients from food, either because the food quality is poor from suboptimal growing conditions or travel time, from the lack of variety or ability to eat whole food. Therefore, supplementation, either through fortifying foods or dietary supplements, is often necessary. And we're lucky to live in a day and age where supplementation is even an option. However, it is extremely important to know the supplements that you're taking. Many supplements, such as average multivitamin and many protein supplements, unfortunately, on the market, have been proven to cause more harm than good, especially because many supplements contain harmful ingredients that aren't even listed on a label half the time. That's why the only supplements I take and recommend to my clients are derived from whole food. So one of the things that I take every day is a whole food fruit and veggie blend. And I will put a link to this in my podcast show notes so you can take a look at how, what the ingredients are and how amazing this stuff is. So this whole food supplement provides whole food nutrition from 30 different fruits, vegetables, grains, and berries, and it comes in a really convenient capsule form. That means when you take it, you get a variety of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytochemicals from a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables every day. And some of these you'd likely never eat, right? How many of us are eating an artichoke every day, right? How much of us are eating elderberry every day? And a lot of us aren't eating garlic every day, which is a really great source of our sulfur, like we talked about. So I've been taking this whole food blend for, like I said, almost a decade, about 8 years now. And I've seen so many great results that come from it as my body is just full of these nutrients. Some of the things that I've really noticed is healthier gums and teeth. I know that before I started taking it, my gums would bleed quite often and they just don't anymore. My skin is clearer. I used to get those, kind of cysts underneath the skin, and I don't get them anymore. Stronger nails, shiny hair, reduced cravings, don't crave sugar like I used to, because again, my body doesn't need it. It's got enough nutrition. More energy, less sick days, and as my doctor always says, she can't believe how good my blood work is. So something to look at. So take a look at the show notes, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions about this or any other supplements. Now, the next supplement that I take is a plant-based omega supplement. I eat a lot of hemp, chia, and flax, as well as spirulina and other algae products, but it's really important to get enough omega fatty acids in the diet. So I'll post a link to a blog post that I wrote, and it's called Why a Plant-Based Omega is Better for You. So you can learn more about why I choose a plant-based omega rather than a fish-based omega. And one of the major reasons is because fish are the middlemen. Fish are eating omega-rich plant-based foods, then we eat the fish to get it from them. So why are we not just going straight to the source, right? It doesn't make any sense. So I've been taking this supplement now for quite some time. And again, some of the improvements that I've seen are in my hair, skin, nails, and again, blood panel. It's that blood panel and your blood work that really shows your health. Another thing that's really important are the vitamin Bs. So the B complex, or especially a B12 supplement for those of us who are living a plant-based diet. The B vitamins, as we talked about earlier, are essential to the metabolism of our proteins, carbohydrates, fats to provide energy. So if we don't have enough vitamin Bs of the B vitamin group, you just might not be able to break down the foods that you're eating as well and use them for energy. So I usually suggest taking a B complex, and I know that the healthcare professionals that I've worked with suggest a B complex because it's just kind of a great way to get a full spectrum of the Bs. And the same goes for food. Anytime you can eat a whole food, it's better than just an extraction of the food. So for example, eat a whole orange or any other fruits and vegetables instead of just the vitamin, like a vitamin C. But it's really important to note, though, and I do want to say this, that it's really important to consult with your physician before taking any non-whole food vitamin supplement, especially like B12 or a B complex, just to make sure it's right for you. Because I do know people that don't fare well on a complex and they need to just take a specific B12. So make sure you're speaking to somebody before just taking any of these supplements. Now, the last one I'll talk about is vitamin D. We already talked about vitamin D that can be made through the sun, found in fortified foods. However, you might still need to supplement, as mentioned before, especially if you live in a cooler climate like I do in Canada. It's often recommended that we take a vitamin D supplement since we really don't get much sun exposure and, of course, can be, at risk for deficiencies. I know that my doctor says they don't even test for vitamin D anymore because they just say everybody should be on a vitamin D supplement. But again, this is also, remember, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. So really important to talk to your physician before taking any non-whole food. So if this was just coming from a whole food, that'd be different because you're just eating food. But if you're taking a synthetic supplement, make sure that you're speaking to a healthcare professional first. Now, if you'd like assistance setting up a personalized plant-based nutrition plan just for you, please visit my website at rjowellness.com. I'd be more than happy to help you on this journey of better health and wellness through nutrition and, of course, other lifestyle choices. And as I mentioned, please visit the show notes at rjowellness.com/podcast/episode-19 for some other links and information that will help support you on this journey. Well, that's it for today. And until next time, my friends, keep rockin' your wellness. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast. Make sure to visit my website at www.rjowellness.com, where you can subscribe to the show and check out all the show notes. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, if you'd simply tell a friend about it, that would help out too. You may choose to join the R.J.O Wellness community to take advantage of the freebies, courses, and coaching that will take your voyage to the next level, or support this podcast with your monthly membership. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness.